Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the PSSL monthly members meeting for the month of October 2021. We have come to the 10th month. Before we start the meeting, let's look at the agenda first. It will be introduction of new members first, and then activity update. Then monthly presentation followed by the open forum. As we all know, we started to introduce our new members to our members at the members meeting from last month, especially because we don't get to meet each other anymore. Hopefully this will be over soon and we will get to see each other pretty soon. Let's look at few of our new members and welcome them to PSSL. First, we have Viraj Nadaraja. Unfortunately, he still has not joined the session. Then we have Dr. Lakshmi Ratna. I think Lakshmi is here with us. Lakshmi, would you like to briefly introduce yourself to us?
I think I have introduced me before. I am Dr. Lakshmi Ratna, and currently I am being attached to Sri Lanka Air Force as a doctor, and currently I am reading for my postgraduate studies in radiology, and I am currently working at National Hospital Colombo as a registrar in radiology. And I'm a hobby photographer, and I used to start my photography some 2-3 years ago when I was in Africa for a UN mission, and the journey still continues.
Thank you, Lakshan, and welcome to PSSL. Then we have another doctor, Dr. Tushara Senaratna. Tushara, are you here?
I'm Tushara Senaratna. I'm a doctor by profession, and I'm working as medical officer ENT at District General Hospital, Kalutara. Currently, I'm residing in Maharagama, and I really love wildlife photography because it's it's relaxing and meditation, and it overcomes work-life stress when you get into a jungle. Most of the times I prefer bird photography, and because it's a challenging job when it comes to photographing birds in flight. And that doesn't mean I don't love to photograph mammals. I do like photographing leopards and elephants and other mammals. I owned a DSLR since 2016, but I didn't photograph wildlife animals until 2020. The reason I started my passion was me getting impressed by stunning photos which was taken by my friend Yoshan Karunaratne at Wilpattu National Park. He's an expert in wildlife photography, and he's a wildlife enthusiast. And camera J at that time was very primitive, crop sensor, camera body, and lens. Distant subjects, taking photographs of distant subjects was very limited. So I was very lucky to upgrade my camera gear early this year before prices have gone up sky high. Now affording a good camera body and a lens is now a dream to a beginner who's about to start wildlife photography as a passion. So as a PSSL member, I'd like to share my knowledge and experience with other members, and to gain anything from other members that would help to improve my photography skills. I love if people criticize both good and bad of my photographs, which I took, and that will help me to correct myself. Finally, I hope I can contribute for the betterment of the society in future.
Great.
Thank
Thank you, Tusala. Thank you. And next we have Tisun Chandrasiri. Tisun, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tisun. So I have worked in advertising for 10 years and I worked as an art director also. Then I currently I do freelance designer, work as a freelance designer. Also, I do photography commercially. And also as a hobby, I love street photography and portrait photography. I used to go out shooting on streets like after work around 10 p.m. In Peta area and all. I really enjoyed a lot, and I really missed it. Looking forward to start again, and glad to join PSSL.
Great, thank you, Tisun. Finally, we have Ishanga Maipala. Unfortunately, he also wasn't able to join today. So I take this opportunity to warmly welcome all of you all to PSSL on behalf of the Exco and the other members of the society. Welcome everyone, and we look forward to work with you and see you at our future workshops and other programs. Let's move on to the activity update. As we informed last month, the most awaited event of the society, 66th PSSL Annual International Competition and Exhibition of Photography, is now open for your entries. And same as last time, this time as well, the competition will be held under 5 categories: open color, open mono, travel, nature, and photojournalism. Please go ahead to our website, pssl.lk, to get all the details and to enter into the competition. And you can see in the flyer here, we have a eminent panel of judges comprising of 8 international judges, and we have more than 100 local and international awards. So it's a good opportunity for you all. So we invite you all to come and join, participate in the exhibition and the competition. Next, we have scheduled a photo puri to be held next Saturday, 23rd, from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So during these 2.5 hours, we have scheduled 7 presentations to be held. Details given here. Link to the session and more details will be circulated via an email probably by tomorrow. We hope you will make time to join us and enjoy the photo puri next Saturday, not this Saturday, Saturday the 23rd. Next, we come to the monthly photography competition, Capture This. Current theme is Tools of the Trade. Deadline is 31st October 2021, midnight. So if you still haven't sent in your entries, you can do so before midnight on the 31st of October. And details of this competition are available on the website as well. And open judging sessions for the month of October will be held next Tuesday and the Tuesday after. As usual, assignment, open color, open mono, and travel sections will be judged next Tuesday the 19th at 6:30 p.m. And wildlife section, open judging session will be held on the 26th, Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Both sessions will be held via Zoom. We have been talking about our YouTube channel for the last few months. So if you have missed any of our online sessions, you can go ahead to PSSL video channel on YouTube and take a look at the online sessions, whatever you have missed, and don't forget to subscribe while you're at it. If you are good at writing, and if you would like to write any articles or share ideas or opinions about photography, you can do so, and we will upload all your write-ups to PSSL blog, and you can share share your write-ups, email them to blog@pssl.lk, and the write-ups will be put onto the web pssl.lk/blog after the admin approvals. Image gallery is a good opportunity for PSSL members to showcase their work to the world. This is a place where you can have all your photographs. You have your own space for you to have your photographs for the whole world to see. So go ahead to gallery.pssl.lk and check whatever is there at the moment, what our members have uploaded for the moment. And if you would like to join the gallery and have your images also in the gallery, just contact Rovini on the numbers given below and get your subscription to it. Then we come to PSSL interest group updates. Last Saturday, the 9th, we had a lovely session, a members meet and greet organized by the PSSL Street and Travel Group, which was enjoyed by everyone who joined the session. And we would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who organized the session for a job well done. And Wednesday the 27th at 6:30, PSSL Street and Travel Group will meet for their monthly meeting with a presentation on travel photography on assignments. The link to the session will be shared in due course, so make a note in your calendars to join the session. Then we have an announcement on PSSL Wildlife and Nature Group. I would like to Hiran now to take over and make the announcement. Hiran, over to you.
Yes. PSSL Wildlife in Nature Group is actually one of our most active and I think widely participated groups from in the PSSL total scenario. And so this year we had a change of sort of leadership role, and we have now decided to appoint Mr. Harry Sudarshan to this as the team leader for the wildlife group. In fact, Harry is a enthusiastic wildlife photographer. He has many photographs on his blog and his Instagram account, and he has proved himself with his team members in the group as well. So in fact, he's an engineer by profession. But as with all PSSL members, we are a diverse group of people who are professions of different nature, but bonded together by the love of photography. So I'm happy to announce Harry's appointment to head the wildlife and nature group starting, and I'm sure he has a lot of plans in pipeline, because I know he has support of quite most of all the members in the group. So a lot of events I'm sure will be planned in the coming future, and I wish Harry all the best in continuing keeping the tradition of the wildlife and nature group going.
Thank you, Hiran, and all the best to you, Harry. Like Hiran mentioned, we are sure you will.
Harry, would you like to tell a few words? I'm sure others would want to listen to a little bit of your voice at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Hiran, for that nice introduction. Thank you, PSSL and all members for this choosing me to lead the wildlife and nature group. I look forward to continue the excellent work was done by Hiranti so far. So I expect all the senior members and all the members support to carry on work, and I have some plans and programs. So hope I am preparing that, and very soon I will introduce. I will place my plans and programs to the group sooner.
Thank you, Harry, and welcome. And like Hiran said, I'm sure you will be able to do a great job with the help of other members of the group. And while welcoming Harry, let's take a minute to offer sincere gratitude to Hiranti, the outgoing leader of the group, who did a tremendous job at leading the wildlife group for some time.
In fact, Naima, I would like to add to that.
Yeah.
I think Hiranti really brought the group together. She's one of the most driven persons I know to get a task done. So I'm sure with Hiranti's backing and her guidance, I'm sure behind the scenes, I'm sure the wildlife group will really go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, with that announcement, we move on to today's presentation. Today's presentation is about a late member of the society and about his work. So Mr. Palitha Vikramasinghe, who passed away last month, he was an active member of Photographic Society of Ceylon. That was how PSSL was known by then, that this was in early 60s. And he actually studied under P.B. Veeravardhana, and he used, most of the time he used, I think, medium format film camera, and he has left behind a lot of negatives, which Romesh will speak about now. And the presentation is titled Pali's Places. And on behalf of the Analog Group, we have organized this presentation, which will be done by none other than Romesh de Silva. So without further ado, we'll open the floor to Romesh. Romesh, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Naomi. I hope everybody can hear me. So thank you once again for PSSL for the opportunity for the presentation. I think this is the first presentation the Analog Group is making. So in a way, it's a bit of a milestone. This milestone was possible only because Ramya Vikramasinghe, my good friend and a senior member of the PSSL, and Shamali, his wife, let me have an insight into this amazing man called Pali. So Pali is really the name of the shortened form, or how would I say, the nickname given to Mr. Nanda Palitha Vikramasinghe, who was a brother of Ramya. And he honed his photography skills. He sort of developed his liking, his, how would I say, love for photography in the 50s and the 60s. Now, these is what Ramya tells me. And if we are to understand what Pali did, I think we need to understand the era that he sort of entered into this medium of photography. If you look at the 50s and the 60s, we find that photography took a bit of a turn, and there was something called conceptual photography that emerged. So it was really in that era that it was born. And what it meant was people use, they didn't rather shoot a subject or capture a moment, but they used what they captured to sort of imply something. We could safely assume probably Pali may have been influenced by it, that use props to convey meaning. Maybe when we go through the imagery, his photographs, we would try to understand whether this is right or wrong. Now, Pali or Palita Vikramasinghe was a sibling, one of the 4 brothers. I think I'm right on that. But unlike his brothers, I mean, he came from a very huge industrious family, and unlike his brothers, he was not into business. And I'm told that all the family companies survived this chairmanship. He was really the thinker and the philosopher. And I think at any given moment during his life, he had something to tell. Now, I would like Ramya, who's his brother, and Ramya has written a nostalgic little note on Pali. Pali passed away last month, unfortunately, due to COVID. He was 89 years old. But of course, he lived his life to that effect. I think it was good. If I may ask Ramya to say something before I proceed with the presentation.
Thank you, Romesh. Well, this came as a surprise. I have never prepared to talk anything. And you have done everything I wanted to speak.
Okay. I'm sure you'll have something to say, Ramya.
Yeah, unfortunately, something has happened to my computer. I can't retrieve them. The note I did about him. Anyway, Pali was my eldest brother. As Romesh said, he was 89 when he passed away. He was educated at St. Peter's. Thereafter, he went to Peradeniya University, did history. And after a while, he went to Canada and he got a scholarly in Harvard to do philosophy. And after 2 years, he got fed up of it and said philosophy cannot be taught. And he left the place. Thereafter, he lectured in university, I can't remember the name, in Canada, and came back to Sri Lanka. And my father insisted that he should take over to business. Well, he reluctantly took over and he was not happy at all. So in the meantime, he got married. And unfortunately, his wife also passed away after about 5-6 years. She too had been a student of BP Veeravardhana. So they had a common liking. After she passed away, Pali did a lot of traveling in Sri Lanka and he visited a lot of very old temples, actually off the beaten track. And when I was in school, I got a present of his box camera. That's how I started on photography. And thereafter, I graduated to a 35mm film camera. Pali always took to medium format film, especially black and white. Much later on, he had to give up during the war period in Sri Lanka because he went on a trip and he was photographing and he did not know that there was an army camp close by. And he was locked up for a few hours and released after exposing the film. Then after the war, he bought himself a 35mm camera, also film, and took a little bit of color photographs as well. But still, he was very keen in black and white. He had his own dark room. He did his own processing and enlarging. And one thing he did was always criticize my photographs. Always say it's not up to standard. I think it's true. So anyway, that's a brief story about my brother in a nutshell. And it was very unfortunate that he passed away. And we, the family, miss him a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Ramya. Thank you. Right. Okay, so that's a brief about the man that we are going to have a conversation with. We are going to converse with his imagery that he left behind. Naomi, I need to switch the camera. Can you make me the host?
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So while she fiddles with Zoom, Pali, I think of what I see, I mean, I must thank Ramya and Shamali for sharing all his negatives. The whole lot is just behind me, as you can see. During my lifetime, I'll try to sort of scan them. And I have a lot of prints right here. I want to show you a few of his prints and some of the things he did. I think he was a man really out of the beaten track. As he says, philosophy can't be taught. So, I mean, philosophy is what you see and, based on logic. So obviously, I fully agree with him. many years hence, he would have told this to his father. I mean, probably a couple of decades back. But I think I agree with him that, you know, it's not something which you can teach. So is my table as the main screen there with you guys?
Correct.
Let's get some light. I want to show you what a few things about his life. I have not been able to sort of dig deep, but Ramya did mention that Pali was influenced quite a bit by BP Veeravardhana. Now we know BP Veeravardhana was a doyen of our society. We in fact have an award for BP Veeravardhana. Now this is a portrait that BP Veeravardhana took some years back. I think it was in the late 60s of a lady. Unfortunately, it was it's a bit damaged and so on. But you could necessarily see what sort of a genius he was in portraiture and in photography. He lived down, as you can see, Hill Street, 265/2 Hill Street, but there is just like a shop there. The building is no longer there. So as I said, Pali was one of the guys who were out of the beaten track. Now, generally, if you look at the film photography, and I really don't know who's in the audience who has been doing film photography since, of course, not the 50s or the 60s, probably the 70s or the 80s. You know that generally what you do is you use either HP or the Ilford, or you have the Kodak. But Pali decided no, he's going to use OVO. So this is a few of the film rolls that Ramya and Shamali has been kind enough to give me. These are the unused ones. So, I mean, these are dead, basically. But here is a sort of a time capsule of, but it's really unexposed. So there's nothing left in it. We don't know what on earth is in there. But what I really want to show you about Pali is that he was a member of the Photographic Society for a long time, and he used to take part in competitions. So, I mean, this image is in the presentation, but he used to get acceptances, as you can see, 1983, right? And he also used to do color, yeah, right? And so he used to capture these amazing sort of effects of the sky and sort of work on the total dynamic range. And once again, accepted. So this is 1998. And he used to also take part. Oh, here's another one. Okay. Right. Accepted. 1994. And so on. I mean, there was, I mean, if you look at some of his imagery, like, yeah, this one. If he printed this image, is amazing because you can see really the contours, the 3D contours of the tree. So in black and white photography, as we will see in a little while, this is the challenge. This is what you need to get out of whatever you're doing. So Pali, in a manner, I think was really a great thinker and a photographer, in the sense that he wanted to necessarily show what he wanted to, what he saw. And Ramya says that he was using a box camera. I don't know whether he used a box camera like this. Of course, this is a very basic box camera, which is a Kodak Brownie.
Yeah, that's the time, but it was black.
It was black. Okay, there are different versions, Ramya. And of course, it uses a 620 film, which is no longer in manufacture, but of course, you can buy it hand roll now, right? And then you said you subsequently went into, was it a twin lens like this? So
He had a Rollicon.
yeah, okay. Like this? Yeah, the Rollicon.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that would have been because that would have been in the 60s, right?
60s, yes.
Yeah, okay. And then, of course, finally, he ended up with a Minolta, isn't it? Something like this, of course.
Minolta, and also before that he had another black and white, some huge contraption.
Something
and he
like
was
this.
something wrong with it, and he had given it for repairs.
And was lost.
It was lost.
Was it something like this?
Yeah, something like that.
RB67 or something.
Yeah,
So this was very
yeah,
popular in the
some other
70s.
version.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have. Anyway, so that was Pali and whatever he was up to, and we know that he was influenced by BP Veeravardhana. And so now what we can do is we can sort of, just a minute, let me switch the camera. Right. So what I really want to do with this presentation is I have scanned most of the images of Pali in different sections, the way I thought fit, right? And before we go into the presentation, I want you all to understand two aspects the way I see in black and white photography. One thing is, in black and white photography, we need to understand the zone system. And I thought I'll just give a very brief introduction. I'm not an expert, but I thought I'll just give a brief introduction of the zone system. And there is one other aspect that I want you to see and understand in Pali's photography, which I thought is relevant, right? So let's start the conversation with these photographs. Can you all see?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, thanks. Yeah, that was good. So let's start this conversation. And this conversation probably would be without words, obviously, because we are going to see some pictures of Pali. But before we go into it, I think we need to ask ourselves, so what really is our photography? What is our expectation from photography? Is it the frame that you put around the photograph or the image or the scenery that you see? Or is it what is not in the frame? I don't know. I mean, it's something that we can discuss, but let's go into it. So Ramya said that Pali was heavily influenced by BP Veeravardhana. I showed you this picture of this lady that BP Veeravardhana had photographed. I managed to sort of edit it. And when you really look at this image, you see that the plateau or the level that BP Veeravardhana would have been operating. I have seen a few of his portraits, and each one is so different. It's so impressive. It's so visually appealing. And what is interesting here is that you can see BPW's signature, his seal, his soul on the image. So Pali, and I think even Ramya used to visit BP Veeravardhana for some sort of instructions, or they used to get some guidance from him. Okay, so I told you guys about the zone system, right? And the fact that it is very important to understand the zone system when you're looking at black and white photography. I think this is very important even in any photography that we do, because sometimes we see photographs with either there's too much of black or too much of white, right? So the zone system is a simple way of understanding. It's just, I mean, the photograph, easier to understand in black and white. It's just divided into sort of 10 light levels. It is 10, don't ask me why now the new cameras have dynamic ranges up to sort of 20, 21, 25, but let's just keep it to 10 and we'll sort of compress it to 10. And on the zero end, you have the dark dark zones, which is 1 to 3. So you don't have anything on the dark zones in the sense on 0. You try to avoid having anything in 0, right? Because 0 is called the absence of reflections. You don't see anything, but you need also the 0 to some extent to sort of create depth in your photograph when it's in black and white. Now, number 1 is called near black, and number 2 is called pattern darkness. So there is some sort of, you can discern something, some soft details. Then, of course, you have 3 to 5 is the detail zones. You have the shadow details, then you have the dark middle gray, and what we call the middle gray, the famous middle gray that everybody talks of, 18% gray and so on and so forth, right? That's the mid-tones that really sort of bring out the details in your image. Of course, we talk about mid-tones at 18%, but it can be, I mean, technically it can be a range. This is not necessarily sort of, cut and dry. Then we have the highlight zones, which is like you have the pattern highlights, then the near whites and the whites. So you want to avoid number 10, you want to try to avoid number 0, but sometimes if you want to underexpose to make it more dramatic, you can sort of shift towards 0 to maybe about 6. Or of course, if you want to overexpose, if you are naturally somebody who overexposes, you can go up to, sort of tilt your liking towards a more highlight oriented, more white oriented black and whites. I'm referring to black and whites because we are necessarily talking about black and whites today. So just keep in mind when we look at Pali's pictures, how he has basically brought in this dynamic range into his pictures. Now, other aspect of Pali's pictures, and in general, something that I would like for me to understand a little more or better, and for everybody to think about, is this aspect that I want to present to you. It's Joe Myowitz, who's of course quite a interesting and impactful street photographer. I mean, I don't know whether Pali, who would have influenced Pali, I don't know, during his sort of photographic journey, whether it was Myowitz or, I mean, at that time, there were people like Moriyama or Bodin or Pali. We don't know. But in this case, I want to just highlight the aspect that Joe Myowitz speaks on. Eugene Auger is a French photographer who lived from 1850 to about 1920 in Paris. And he did some amazing work, which I really love. And in this case, there is a particular aspect in his work that I think is very interesting, because it is interesting because photography is a 2D medium. It's just something that is put in your face, and it doesn't live. How can you make it live? How can you make it evolve? So this is the challenge. These are challenges as photographers. And I think this particular aspect is something that we can necessarily think of. I'm going to play a video. I hope it works. That's delicious. The discerning viewer will go into the picture and see what the photographer would like you to see. Right, now let's get into Pali's pictures. I've just sort of broken them down the way I thought fit into different categories, just to sort of have some sense. They may not necessarily fit properly, but let's try to take a look. So keep in mind, okay, sometimes I must tell you, everything that Pali shot has not worked out. But then at least, since we've now sort of created a sort of a understanding, a sort of a level to look at the pictures, you would be able to see where he has gone wrong, I think, which is also important, right? But some of the pictures, yes, he's got it right? He's just wowed you. And the other thing is, please take a careful look as to what he's trying to tell you. Okay, so this conversation is visual. I'll try to keep my comments to myself. Ramya, if you can sort of identify any place or any
I think
comment.
it's in Anuradhapura, I think.
Is this Mirisavatiya?
Mirisavatiya.
I think so.
Yeah, Mirisavatiya.
Looks like it, yeah. Before it was renovated, I think.
Yes.
So here, I think it's interesting to know the zone system or the zonal, the tonal differences of the shades. See how it's captured the light, the pattern highlights as against the dark zones. I wouldn't say that it is easy, mounting your medium format and getting your film into it and, getting it done. It's a far cry from what we do today. Just point and shoot in a manner, spray and pray. Here you can't. And then it's quite commendable. I mean, you can even feel the contours and the posture of this tree, which is on your right. And there is some depth in the black, which is, I think, is amazing. So generally, we are taught to straighten, but I didn't do that in this case, because for some reason, the photographer decided to print this. It's not like, outputting your digital image into a computer and to start flipping it up and down. But he decided to print this picture like this. And as Joe Myowitz said in talking about Eugene Ajay, there's something in this picture that you need to go through the bush, the trees, the road, and you need to see. Once again, the same principle. Amongst this huge scenery of the medium format, amongst this probably the haze, the mist, Pali finds two people. I don't know whether it's a sort of a cold sort of a scene. It doesn't seem to be. They are casually talking, again, leaning against the tree. Once again, if you look carefully, there are some human, this human elements is so medical, no, let's be more human. There are people in this picture. As against this vast expanse is huge. Nature is huge, isn't it? Nature is overwhelming. And we are so insignificant. This picture got acceptance in one of our exhibitions, PSSL. Oh, I mean, not PSSL at that time. So this is a common scenery, isn't it? We've seen this. This is Candy, am I right, Ramya?
Yes, Candy Lake.
Candy Lake. But not the frame that you generally see, isn't it?
Yeah, the mist makes it different.
Yeah. And I must confess, I tried my best to do the scanning to the best of my ability, but Of course, these are big, so you need a A3 scanner, and I didn't have access to a proper photography A3 scanner. I used sort of a commercial one which you use for documents. But if you really look at the original picture, it's much more. It has much more detail. But the amazing thing is how he gets the reflections. And if you go through the presentation, you'll find that he's been a master at capturing the reflections, which looks to be one of his strong points. But I like how he has framed this picture. See, there's something on the top, on the foreground, there's something on the bottom, which is, of course, pitch black, 0 or near black. And then he moves, he takes you in this gradual tonal adventure towards this little island in Kandy. I don't think these coconut trees are there anymore, isn't it? So this would have been another challenge for a film photographer who's using a huge a medium format. Setting, the film is fixed, whatever you use, either it's, I mean, he was using OVO. So, they were in the ASA era, not ISO era. So, and he's been using 125 probably. Yeah, so 125 with all these light rays coming in. And then the rest of it is, in your camera, in your lens, you set the aperture and you sort of focus, and you need to know where to focus. And most of these cameras are like rangefinders. So you need to know to what depth that you'll have focus. And when you look at this image, what he wanted is in focus. Probably this profile of this tree caught his eye, and the contours that sort of surrounded it. The good thing about photography then is that you notice things in a manner that is very different today, because we just go through color, we go through action. We need it to hit your face. You don't want to spend time diving into the image and to see what is there in it. Some life in a huge expense. So when you look at this picture, once again, you know that, well, it's intentional. See the lines, see how it works. See the curviness of the tree, and what you have beyond is paddy field, and details, unfortunately, not very strong, but still look at the reflection. Nowhere in the picture is an element that doesn't work. I think that is a great challenge. I mean, we are so pampered with our digital sensors and all the frills and fancies. Sometimes we just can't make it on the dynamic range. Something goes out, either blown out or underexposed. So Pali actually used to travel all over the place. And I think something that Ramya missed was that, to the great dismay of his father, he was missing from work, and to see he has taken his camera and gone somewhere. So that's the type of man he was. And there were things that caught his eye, probably these trees. probably this place, probably the sort of the desoluteness of this location. We don't know. Just a happy tree smiling at us and in focus from foreground to background with some negative space that is just right. Not too much, not too less. I was just trying to figure out what he was doing here. Probably he wanted to tell you, or create a relationship between the scenery, the proportion as against an object. This is also similar. He just placed, or he made this picture with these two people in this vast expanse. What is interesting is, their posture it gives you some sort of a movement. It's not static. You feel that they're discussing something, they're innate about it. There is some connection between the two. There's something happening, but there's nothing around. Huge place, just two people. Once again, he's used all the props like coconut tree to show that, oh, it's such a huge place. I mean, all the coconut trees he's sort of photographed are so tall. Right, just to recalibrate our minds, I thought I'll just pop in a colored picture. He's been quite a master at color also. And I mean, this is also somewhere in the hills, wherever he would have disappeared to on a working day, to his dismay of his father, probably. But see how he's placed that tree? It's just exactly where it should be. So his frame is, to me, it's quite brilliant. Those background contours of the mountains, how they sort of embrace each other. And then in the middle, you have the trees, the bushes, then you have probably the paddy or something. And this lone tree with such a strong presence. Right. He also noticed people around, and let's see what he was up to with that. This image was accepted in one of the former Photography Society exhibitions. Now, I think this tells a very interesting, it just displays a very interesting set of relationships. To me, it looks a family, and you have the mother's love, the trust of a child as against the mother. Probably the child is being taken to school. The father is carrying the bag, of course. As it said that the fathers do all the hard work and the mothers look after the kids. They provide the love and the connection. The child looks very eager to go to school. She's very confident. And you have all these things interacting, isn't it? and the fact that there is movement in these three people.
Romesh, can I come?
Yeah,
If-
please
if-
do.
If I'm not mistaken, he told me that this was not a mist. Someone was burning some leaves
Okay,
and the smoke acted like a mist.
really. So it's that effect that he created,
Yes.
and the moment he captured is great, isn't it? I mean, if you look at each of the images, you find that the feet are moving. You feel that they are coming towards you, and the fact that the mother is holding that child's hand sort of creates that, it just signifies that bond. There is some action in this image. This guy, one guy is waiting till somebody does the other thing. The thing is this, I mean, what is really important is, I think he paid attention to what he photographed. This is important. I mean, it's not that how sharp your picture is or how sort of, contrasty your picture is or so on and so forth. But it's just what it just really tells you and what it doesn't, what it continues to tell you. Just see the light and how it falls, how it illuminates the main subject, and how he's placed the horizon line, that just correct. So, I mean, if you're using a medium format with film, obviously you're going to use a tripod. And then here he is with that tripod, with his film, which I don't know, probably with all these limitations and what sort of latitude. OVO films, they're out of business, so they couldn't have had a lot of latitude. And then here he is, he just shoots his picture in manner. You feel that you can walk into this image, isn't it? So here it is, he places the main subject on the left and he puts a crow on the right. Was it intentional? I don't know, I mean, but it just balances it out so well. There's a dog in the back. So many people doing so many things. And here we come to Lion King. I mean, what was he thinking? Unless he got this guy to do this pose or whatever. What is interesting is the dress, the hairstyle, And the man doesn't look flustered. He's very relaxed. And the frame has everything, isn't it? Well, if it's sort of framed, I mean, he zoomed it out to sort of capture a big area. I don't need it. He's cutting grass or something like that. You call it mana or something to, you know, or whatever. It's okay. And then his body, the weather-beaten, hardworking. So the Sri Lankan Lion King captured by Pali wherever, whenever. And then he transports us to this place. Once again, probably, yeah, it's Candy. Ramad is Candy, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it has to be Candy. In the back of this image, he has written, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
There's something like a chaitya in the background.
Yes, that's right, no?
Can't remember seeing a chaitya in Candy near the lake.
No, that is not Chaitya, that is Malvatta temple. You can see the boathouse behind, left side of the photograph.
Right.
That is Malvatta temple.
Okay. He had written something particular on this back of this picture, and as usual, I can't find it now. But anyway, so here one thing I couldn't sort of, but I mean, what I see is he doesn't interfere with the scenery. He sees something and then he takes a shot. See, if you look at between the two people, there is a bit of a menacing something, probably. The way I see it, it might be some sort of a walking stick or something like that popping out in front of the lady on the right. And then, if you closely look at the lady on the left, she is also holding a child. And look at the two expressions. So it looks to me that unlike us, he wouldn't interfere and tell you to take this off, that off. And he didn't have Photoshop. When I scanned this image and I was toying with this, you know, it was sort of pricking me that this thing was jutting out in front of this, between the two people. And it was disturbing. Then I thought, no, that's the way that he wanted it. Let's keep it for whatever reason. So some movement, isn't it? He used a bit of a slow shutter speed. He froze part of the action. He let some of it sort of move and probably blew out the highlights. He didn't have HDR and so on to post-process. But still he caught the essence of the picture. This was submitted for the photography exhibition and I think got acceptance many years back. I didn't change the perspective. I just left it the way he had wanted. This was the way the picture was printed. Even though you find that there is some sort of angle into this picture, it doesn't look uncomfortable to view, isn't it? And probably intended it that way. Sort of highlighting or impressing the fact that there are situations like that. This, there are people, walk about the difficult livelihoods. So this is a column making thing, as we saw earlier.
Romesh, if I may actually say something, it seems to be that he ensured that his main subjects were all as much straight in vertical. Remember that tree and the road.
Yes.
Didn't pay much attention to the horizon per se, which is something that we do a lot here. But look at all of the main subjects. They're vertical.
Right.
I noticed it.
Yeah, and the thing is that he sort of balances out, isn't it? If there are two subjects, it's always in that relationship between the two subjects. It's so uniform, unison. It's not out of sync, isn't it? I mean, even if you look at the last one, I mean, how do we get back? Okay, look at this. I mean, this picture is, I mean, technically would say, no, you don't take pictures like this. It's, this and that. But here, it's not uncomfortable to see how the two people relate to each other.
Yep.
Right? Sister and brother or whatever, and then the way they are dressed. And what is she having on her shoulder? I mean, some cloth, and the boy wearing this huge necklace, holding strongly into the sister's hand before they sort of step down. So much to think of.
See here also the horizon is he's allowed the horizon to kind of droop, whereas the main subjects are vertical.
Yeah. So he has got noticed, isn't it? And they are reacting to the photograph being taken. And how he has placed the two subjects between these two trees, incidental, intentional, just by chance, we don't know. I mean, this image, between the two images, the two characters in this image, you see one trying to sort of impress the other, and the other is sort of reserved, holding back, no comment, sort of feel that you get. Sort of a older person as against a younger person who's trying to sort of do something which, okay, let's see what happens type of thing. And then this vast expanse of this scenery. We see some sort of a bridge in the background, probably some sort of a lake on the side. And then you've got these trees sort of juxtapositioning these two people, framing them nicely into a scene, presenting us, isn't it? And this depth, even though of course it's not of a sort of a strong contrast the way we would like it, still you get that feel, isn't it? So he saw all these things for some reason. I do notice that whenever he was photographing female subjects, for some reason, he probably was, how would I say, affected in a manner But then always we need to ask the question, should it be in focus? What about soft focus? Why not? What's wrong in that? Now, in this case, why I included this image is that even with this soft, the airy, whitish feel that you get, you still, he still captured the expression. There's something beyond the frame, that we need to figure out. Once again, what on earth is she thinking about? There seems to be some irony, something bothering, isn't it? And the face tells it all. And the way the hands are locked underneath the knee, you are sort of trying to create some sort of comfort, some sort of escapism from something, or what? Yes, no, not much of detail, but I think the detail as required is there. It's a flower, it smells nice, but a bit of a reprehensive acceptance. What is it? What is this flower? Do I like it? Left to be seen. Rather unusual frame for Pali, but I thought I'll just include it because this is not something that we see regularly. I mean, these days, nobody sort of carries the clay in a cart, and he has captured the frame within the frame. Is sort of captured the action as well as the movement, as well as he's frozen. So it's quite a, I thought, important thing.
Has he intentionally cut the man on the right, or was that not? Was that a problem of scanning?
He has cut that man. I don't know what sort of a camera he used. It's quite a close up. I mean, there are many elements that are no longer in our world these days, isn't it? In this place and time that he photographed. I mean, with all the errors in this photograph, I still love it. The connection between two siblings, the village, the remote village, the thatched roof hut, and of course you hang your clothes where the sun shines, and then Pali decides to plump his camera there and try to capture this whole gamut of this, as we say, the zone system or dynamic range, but still he's done a reasonable good job. We can sort of feel the life in this place. There is some cultivation in the back, the huge mountain that sort of envelops these people's lives. And still they seem to be quite happy, isn't it? Bit of voyeurism, I think. What on earth he was doing, I don't know. A lot of light and Well, he seems to have a tendency to sort of overexpose. I don't know, for some reason. It's just sort of probably his way. But still, he tends to capture what he wants to. I don't think he pays much attention to the rest of it. So here again, I think the whole picture, the whole frame involves or portrays everything that this person owns in this life. The way he's feeding himself and whatever, the rest of it. But then I love the expression on his face. And for some reason, you tend to sort of like portraits with closed eyes when we are so told that, when it's a portrait, have your specular highlights on the eyes. Yeah, and then somebody told me that everything has to be in focus. But then when it's not in focus, as Robert Capa said, why should it be in focus after all? And you can still capture, the feeling in a photograph. Initially, I thought this is just a snapshot, but then I thought, no, it can't be. Look at the lines. Look at the way this gentleman is holding the camera. It's very unusual. I can't really figure out what camera it is. Rame, do you think you can recognize this person or anybody you know? It's a lens that pops out of his hand. I don't know what sort of camera he's using, but still, he seems to be very serious in what he's doing. So here he goes again. This is an amazing frame. There's a lot of life on the left of it. And then you have this rolling, flowing depth with all these people. And these two young boys, you can feel their conversation, isn't it? A typical scenery. One of his rare overseas pictures, he's noted that this was taken in Nepal. Now, what is unique about this picture is that, like Myowitz said, you need to go through the merchandise, go through the two women, go through that man who's looking towards the right, and then notice this guy who's just looking at Pali, who's taking the picture. That's probably what he saw. Nobody is paying attention other than that man. And how he sort of focuses you, like a prism, like, undiscerning, implicit lines, using all these forms to that man. I think it's quite amazing. Okay, let's take a look at some environmental portraits, close shots that he has taken about. Probably some of the places that he visited, or Ramya, do you?
No, I don't know where this is.
Okay, yeah. So here
He
again,
never told us where he went.
I know, he just disappeared, isn't it? I mean, he saw varied things in life. I don't think it really mattered whether it was nice. Nice is just what? Nice, what is the definition of nice? Is it acceptable to everybody? So I think that's just questionable, isn't it? So I just shot what he liked. Still, he had that form in his mind. He didn't just shoot, you know. Once again, he wanted you to see something in this image. Not the tree, but as against the tree, in relation, this lady I think it's a lady, yes, having a bath. And still you can discern the posture of her. So I think these images are so intentional. I don't think he was just shooting at will.
I don't think he shot at will because films are expensive.
Exactly. And to set it up and wait, like, and you sort of see this scenery in your mind, right? And to balance it out, and they just pick this little human form far away as against this huge bark of the tree. Just one insignificant flower, and it takes trouble to shoot it. Pop in the middle. Don't put anything in the middle, we are told. Rule of thirds. Either it has to be on the left or the right. And they say it doesn't work. But see how he has framed it. If you look at around this flower, there are sort of, I mean, I don't know what, like, I mean, things that, you know, plants that are popping up in a sort of a frame, isn't it? Therefore, it doesn't matter. This is the way you see it.
He used to always tell me that rules are meant to be broken.
Of course. Not only in photography, I guess.
Everything.
He had called this something, actually. I'm sorry, I had to look for that. Now, here again, I asked myself, why would he photograph this huge tree? And sort of he's trying to create a relationship between the size and this person who's just down below. Was it so incidental? Was it like just at that moment? I doubt. But then it really works, isn't it, as an image? These are not the run-of-the-mill images that you see, run-of-the-mill sort of things that are put in front of your face. And here again, he takes trouble to sort of portray a flower in a lovely setting. So these would have been from my strips all over the place, but I think trees and environment really sort of interested him, and I repeated this image. So here again, who would ever, I mean, seriously, I wouldn't think of shooting or, making a picture out of an image like this. Look at this frame. The frame within the frame. It's amazing, isn't it? Of course, you don't see anything beyond, but do you really need to have anything beyond? It can be anything, isn't it? It can be your imagination. This is another scene of that sort of that house that we saw earlier, but in this case, you have some people. It's a bit sad that some of the images have got damaged. And I think he was really trying to capture these different elements. Here you have the foreground, the middle ground, the background, and you have the different tonal ranges. And I think he saw the light in a manner, and he went to capture it. And this is an excellent example. I really have no idea where this is. Here you go again. What would fascinate Pali to capture this in this manner? Look at the 3D-ness of this image. And then he takes a wider shot. He takes these pictures with these lines, sort of crisscrossing across the frame, but creating a picture. And then it's black and white. All you have is gray that you play with, the dark as well as the light. And then here you create a picture. And then once again, master of reflection. Nothing is complete unless you see some human form, isn't it? So he did take some pictures, but of course, I mean, I don't have much of his images in relation to this, but still some of the ones, I mean, probably he used light and he created this emotion in people. It was intentional, I think. Unlike his sceneries where he captured what was available, here he's sort of directing, he's sort of creating that feel. Always away from the frame, leaving you wonder what on earth is going on. And I think this is the image of Pali that strikes me most. When I look at this image, I just think, what is she thinking? She's just feeling that nobody in this world can help me. There's nothing anybody can do for me. And this unorthodox capture of A female nude. I mean, it is very unique, isn't it? In the sense that I've sort of never seen this posture, this way, this sort of, I mean, it is. I mean, still you can discern what it is. It's not too, how would I say, abstract that you can't figure out what on earth is this, like, you know, Picasso or something like that. You've got to be told what it is. It is a human form. It's a female, and you can figure it out. And I think this is an excellent rendition, a capture of light. And you can sort of feel the water bubbles, the water on the body, and the depth, the shallow depth, moving away from the sharpness and sort of dissolving into the depth of the shallowness. So I think one of the strongest aspects of Pali was also his ability to frame subjects. If you look at this, yes, see how he's sort of positioned this girl within all this, you know, the chaos around her, but then you could sort of see her feeling. Sorry. So here I thought it is not what is in the frame, but what is outside, what on earth is going outside the frame. So that is also part of framing, isn't it, in photography, right? It's not only the frame that is, I mean, that's static. What can you tell? But what happens beyond the frame? We look at this, how the little tree is sort of shadowed, or I mean, I thought this is a lovely frame, unusual to see this, let alone photograph it. So this is a good example of how to throw your background into out of focus without sort of affecting your foreground, without affecting your main subject. So here you have a foreground which is slightly sort of less focus, and then you have what you want to see. Look at her face, the lady or the girl in the background, and everything at that plane is in focus, and then you have the background which is totally out, and that background doesn't sort of interfere, that light in the background doesn't sort of distort what you see. You just see what is just presented. Amazing. Everybody is at peace. Once again, very unusual what he saw. And these types of presentations you hardly see now. Nobody bothers you. Nobody wants to sort of take time and trouble. Imagine as against those days, you know, film and so on. And I think this is also a very unique sort of picture. I was just wondering what these things are, and I think they are fish or something like that. And then probably he sort of directs this shot. He does some art direction, I don't know what. But then see how he has placed, how it leads, how it's balanced, and so on. once again, pop in the middle, but see what's going around. We know that it's something to do with whatever, I mean, the sort of action, and there is unusual place, probably religious place, and so on and so forth. Here again, action frozen, but action continues. Once again, such a tight, but a frame that creates, still you have the depth through the shades of gray. So for some reason, he just shot him from a lower angle, from a lower viewpoint. And he looks onto the right. And great balance, I thought. And here again, all the emotions of the two ladies are caught between this, the frame within the frame. What exactly are they saying to each other? And this is such a reference for the whole, I mean, how this boat you see on the foreground places the rest of it in such perspective is amazing. Everything falls into place because of this thing, this black blob in the front. Once again, his framing, I thought, yeah. I think this is, I don't know where it is anyway. Okay, just a few more. There were times when I think he got his focus right. He wanted to get his sharpness right for some reason. And then, but I mean, then at that time, he just pops the image out. So I mean, this lady, just looks at you straight back and says, "What the hell do you want with me?" And this is such a unusual. Two boys in conversation. I can feel the conversation, and there are two trees in the background. Probably they're also in conversation. Look at the faces. Look at the light, how it reflects. And, young, chatty teens. He called these converging lines. Of course, we see this so much. We call the S-curve and all the nonsense. Well, Pali called this contemplation, and I think it's, in a manner, it's contemplation. And one would ask, why isn't it focused? I mean, you can't see the eyes, you can't, sort of discern it. But still, why should it be in focus? That's always my question, because it sort of conveys what was meant. This is an image that he got acceptance in our exhibition. I mean, I really don't know what the process is called, this, whether it is like solarization or some sort of printing method, but it was accepted. So it's a little beyond my understanding of a photograph. But I'm sure there is some technique to this, which he was experimenting. So here again, he seems to have some sort of, either he has a sort of a very melancholy effect on females, or he just directs them so well to express this feeling. And then this is also one of his great images. I mean, how this happened, I don't know. It looks a medium format to me. And then he's got all these elements right in this picture. Whether it's staged or whatever but still I think it's one of the great images that Pali leaves behind.
And he's so scared of snakes.
I have no idea. I mean, it's such a perfect picture, isn't it? And then, I mean, this is the last of the list. This looks to me the influence of B.P. Veeravardhana on Pali. Of course, two different individuals, but probably he wanted to sort of give it a try. So I just want to end this conversation. Though I promised not to say anything, I ended up saying, yes, that's me. With a photograph that Ramya, his brother, a lovely portrait has taken of Pali. And then at the end of this, Pali looks at us and looks, what the hell are you doing? You have no idea about me. I mean, I get that feeling. And thank you, Ramya and Shamali, for sharing all that information. And,
thank you very much, Romesh, for the superb interpretation of his photographs.
Thank you. My pleasure, Ramya.